So sa mga kakampings dyan, yes, accepted and admitted namin na nabudol kami.
Correct.
And that is why we are correcting our mistake in 2022.
Kasi unlike you, we have integrity.
Yeah.
We own up to our mistake. Nagkamali kami sa pagpili kay Bongbong Marcos. So therefore, we are holding him accountable for all the promises that he failed to deliver.
Correct.
Ngayon, ganun yung accountability dyan. Kayo, di ba, kayo nga nakakatawa dahil sila, ano sila tawag dito, sinisingil nila si
BP Sara.
si PRRD sa mga promises ni PRRD. Hindi naman nila binoto.
Exactly. So,
diba?
yan yung sasabihin ko sana. Because yung argument ng mga kakamping, sinasabi nila, kayo lang dyan, hindi kami makialam, hindi namin binoto yan, kayo ang bumoto niyan. Pero kung balikan mo from 2016 to 2022, they want to oust Duterte and they want to hold Duterte accountable for the wrongdoings that he hasn't done during his term as president. So kung if we will follow their logic, if we will follow their argument, then meaning to say, binoto nila si BBM. So they are betraying Leni Robredo, si BBM, si Tatay Digong. So they are betraying Leni Robredo and Mar Rojas at that. It's Mar Rojas who ran under the yellow, right? So ganyan. Tapos apply natin. Huwag na tayong lumayo sa 2016. Apply natin ngayon. 'Di ba? Kung hindi nila binoto si VP Sara, bakit nagsisik sila ng accountability and transparency kay VP Sara?
Correct.
Kasi ang
argument, care.
Kasi hindi nyo binoto. Ang sinasabi nyo kasi, ayaw ninyong makialam sa kay Bongbong despite the corruption, despite the billions of money allegedly pocketed, yung sa unprogrammed funds, ayaw ninyong makialam because nga hindi nyo binoto. So bakit kayo nakikialam kay VP Sara? So, ito na nga, Marcos resigned. So, grabe yung ganap kahapon. Actually, I was emotionally and, physically exhausted yesterday dahil grabe yung mga revelations. Now, I browsed the internet kanina and I found out na April of 2021 pala, that's almost a year before the elections, right? Nag-remind na pala si Tatay Digong about the cocaine use of Bongbong Marcos. So if you guys are wondering bakit nandito tumitingin ako here and here, I have my phone here and Joey's phone is here. So I'm trying to use all the two angles para makapagsalita ako ng maayos sa inyo lahat. So yeah, ganito, we were reminded by Tatay Digong na pala, and I just realized just very recently, just 2 hours ago when Joey and I went to Uptown Mall, na-realize ko na if only we listen to the old man, if only kung nakinig tayo kay Tatay Digong, hindi na sana tayo nabudol. And I admit, ito na, sumulat na ako ng ganito, sinulat ko na ito kanina, I wrote about this earlier, and I realized na nabudol talaga tayo. And yung pagkabudol natin, it's not because we are bobo or we didn't weigh things out. It's because pala, when I reviewed the platforms that the presidentiables in 2022 sold us, Bongbong Marcos really had better platforms compared to them. Compared to everyone.
We discussed that extensively
Correct.
during the election.
So before ako magpatuloy, sandali lang ha, i-shoutout ko muna si Ma'am Tin Takahashi. Thank you for the stars, and to Cheryl Marie Mortensen.
Yes, Tita Benji Pugales and Nuggets, thank you very much for the super sticker. Hey ate, isang malutong na greeting with Mura. Favorite kong pang all-out ranting ka. It's fucking real. Ayan, sabi ni Nuggets.
So yun, yeah, Joey and I extensively discussed all these things in 2022. Kung nakikita ninyo, ang sinasabi ko noon is, personally, I don't really care about the track record, okay? What I care are the platforms presented to me, the group of people who are presenting it to me, and the person who presented it to me. Yan yung sinasabi ko in 2022. And I found out really na of all the presidentiables, okay ha, dito natin iset yung parameter. Of all the presidentiables in 2022, it was only BBM who promised us to continue the Build program of Tatay Digong. So why is the Build program so significant for me ha? Ganito yon. Ako kasi, I am originally from Bukidnon, in a far-flung area in Bukidnon, and minsan lang kami naaabutan ng mga tulong, Joey. Minsan lang kami minsan lang umaabot sa amin yung may mga tumutulong man doon pero minimal ba. Tapos yung access, yung transportation, alam mo yung rough road na very dusty. What's dusty in Tagalog ba? Sobrang maalikabok ang daan sa amin, guys, ganyan. Tapos when Tatay Digong became the president in 2016, 'di ba? He implemented the Build program. And ang barangay namin ay isa sa mga naka-receive ng, yung mga kalsada,
yeah,
bridges. And ako, college ako at that time, kapag umuwi ako, ano na lang, easy na lang for me to go home. Hindi na, unlike before na, ang hirap umuwi kasi nga maalikabok, and at the same time, pangit yung mga road. Tapos if nasa Cagayan de Oro ka din, may shortcut na to Bukidnon via Talakag. Kung alam niyo yung location na yan, guys, that's an NPA infested area. So grabe yon, grabe ang patayan diyan, grabe ang kidnapping. Research it on mainstream media, guys. Doon mo yun sa Bukidnon actually yung bata na pinatay, yung baby na naipit sa encounter sa ganyan. So sa Bukidnon yun, sa road na yan. But then again, because of the Bill program, nagiging accessible siya for public because maayos na yung daan. So marami ng mga sasakyan na dumadaan doon, may naging ano talaga siya. And because it's now accessible to the citizens, yun, may progress na and naging safe na siya because it's no longer the safe haven of the NPAs. Takot na sila, may expose sila, pwede silang patayin doon, pwede silang pulbusin, ganyan. So ganyan ka-importante ang Bill program. Now, Ping Lacson, Leni Robredo, sino pa yung tumakbo? Isko Moreno, and Manny Pacquiao, right? And Manny Pacquiao, they did not promise to continue the Bill program. It was BBM who promised us that he will continue what has Tatay Digong started in 2016, which is the Bill program. That's one of the factors na I considered when I voted for BBM. Now, secondly, ayaw ko talaga sa ayuda. Hindi ka ako mayaman. Alam mo yan, Joey, I shared my life story to you. Hindi ako mayaman, nag-aral ako ng mabuti, tapos nagtrabaho ako ng maayos, legitimate jobs, legal jobs. Yan yon, ginagawa ko sa buhay. Because nga, ayaw ko yung ang tawag dyan, yung naghihintay lang ako ng ayuda. And even mahirap kami to be honest with you guys, in college, hindi ako qualified sa 4Ps. Ay, hindi ako nagpa-qualified sa 4Ps, even if I am qualified na mag-4Ps.
Well,
kasi nga, aside from the fact na may scholarship program ako noon, na-realize ko ba na I'm not bad-mouthing 4Ps recipients. What I'm telling is, by principle, yung principle ko, ayaw ko talaga na parang tumatanggap lang ako ng tulong without me doing anything. Kasi ang nangyayari, yung scholarship program ko is I have to maintain grades. And because, naghirap ako, because nagsakripisyo ako, yung grades ko, it translated, yung grades ko na mini-maintain because of the scholarship, it translated to award. Kaya graduate ako in college with flying colors. So without the scholarship, maybe, ganyan. So, ang sa 4Ps, even if wala kang na-maintain na grade, as long as you would want to continue,
you would still get the...
Yes, you would still get. So, at sa college nga, because writer na ako sa college, nagsusulat ako, marami akong bashers. Kasi, nagsusulat talaga ako about sa negative effects ng 4Ps, ganyan. So yun, ganyan ako. Yan yun ako. So, ayaw ko talaga ng mga politiko na ang platform nila ay ayuda. Which is, yan yung number one platform ni Leni Robredo. Hanapin nyo yan. Sabihan nyo ako kung nagkakamali akong fake news. Sa first 100 days...
Gusto ni Leni Robredo noon magkaroon ng unemployment allowance, something like that. So pag nawalan ka ng trabaho, you're gonna get, yung sa ibang bansa ba, katulad sa ibang bansa, na pag nawalan ka ng trabaho, ibigay out ka ng gobyerno for a certain period of time. So ganun yung ayuda na gusto ni Leni Robredo, which is, kumbaga parang, hindi kasi hindi pa natin na-meet kumbaga parang, ang hirap ng dole out na gano'n, di ba? Na, talaga ba? Yan ang gusto natin.
And you know what, guys? Sa first 100 days ni Leni Robredo, ito yung plan niya, ito na yung platform. We're talking about the platform na. Sa first 100 days ni Leni Robredo, she promised to provide 216 billion for ayuda. Here, I'm not even joking. And as a person who doesn't really like ayuda, because gusto ko talaga na magtrabaho ka para magkapera ka, ganyan, that's one of the factors now why I didn't vote for Leni Robredo, okay? Now also at that time, ang binibentang narratives ng mga kakampings ay yung Angat Buhay program. I wrote so many articles of the Angat Buhay program, and if I am not mistaken please don't quote me on this. I'm no longer familiar with the numbers. But from 2016 up until 2022, there were only 600,000 people na help out ng Angat Buhay program. So when I studied the Angat Buhay program, I also discovered that the role pala of the OVP under Leni Robredo's leadership at that time is not really to, spearhead with the project and everything. What they are doing is they lobby. So for example, ako a private entity, halimbawa ikaw, private entity, magpapaano ka sa Angat Buhay program, kayo ang mag-implement sa program, pero mabibigyan ng credit ang si Leni Robredo because of the partnership. So sabi ko, hindi ito.
It's not really work.
Okay, kaya nga, sinasabi ko nga, although the intention is okay, tama naman because they just wanna help. But in terms of leadership, nasa national office ka eh.
It doesn't, kumbaga parang, it did not proper attribute yung
correct.
credit dun sa totoong nagtrabaho.
Yes. Correct. Kasi pwede naman sabihin na halimbawa, for example, House of Hope Foundation, halimbawa lang, House of Hope Foundation, ito yung mga projects na implemented. So dapat, the credit should be given to the House of Hope. Kasi ang ginagawa nga, naglalabi lang yung Office of the Vice President under Leni Robredo's time at that time. So sabi ko, walang naibenta si Leni Robredo na maayos na platform sa akin in 2022. And so I decided not to vote for Leni Robredo. Kaya nga, ang nagiging option ko at that time ay si BBM. Now kayo guys, kung hindi nyo nabasa, ni-repost ko yung mga projects and programs na plano ni BBM para sa Pilipinas. At kung basahin niyo yung platforms na yon, ang ganda. Correct. It's really a continuation of the legacy that was started by Tatay Digong in 2016, lalong-lalo na sa Build program. Now ganito, right after the elections, we gave him a chance. Sige, kasi nagsisimula pa, baka anong tawag dyan, Joey? Nangangapa pa.
Kasi you're still looking for people, right fit dun sa cabinet mo.
Tama, kasi at that time, dyan pumapasok yung mga nilalabi na, for example, magiging Secretary of the Department of Justice, mga ganyan. So sabi ko, okay, for the first 6 months, pagbigyan natin si BBM. Okay, sabi ko, okay, ganyan. And at that time, ginawa niyang DepEd Secretary si VP Sara.
And it sounds good.
Yeah, so for me, sabi ko, very good because aside from being the Vice President, because under the Constitution talaga, technically, parang spare tire lang talaga ang Vice President. Walang discussion about the functions of the Vice President. But para bang pag mamatay na ang Presidente, ang susunod ay ang Vice President. Parang ganyan lang sa Constitution. In layman's explanation, ganyan siya. Pero, may tradisyon ang Office of the Vice President from Cory's time. Ang ginagawa nila is nagbibigay sila ng medical assistance, burial assistance, and any form of
mga
humanitarian works, ganyan. And ito yung kinontinue ng Office of the Vice President under VP Sara's leadership. Now, si VP Sara din, ginawa siyang Vice Co-Chairperson of the National Task Force to End Local Communist, yung NTF-ELCAC, okay? Ginawa siyang Vice Co-Chairperson. So kung titingnan ninyo, tatlo na ang naging posisyon ni VP Sara. Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, DepEd Secretary, and Vice Co-Chairperson of the NTF-ELCAC. Now when she assumed office in the DepEd, when she became the DepEd Secretary, she was receiving reports from DepEd. And one of the reports na na-receive niya ay first, the NPA recruitment happening in national high schools, even in the private schools. Second, gangsterism issue that remains unresolved, child abuse issues that remain unresolved, and ano pa yun, online exploitation, yung sa child abuse yun, and gangsterism, recruitment, online child abuse, yung mga online exploitation, etc., drug use. So yan yung mga learners. Among the learners. So yan yung mga nakikita ni VP Sara. Now, in order to fairly or effectively investigate these problems, the office needs confidential fund. Hindi siya pwede sa intelligence fund because that is given to military or intel agencies like, say for example, Armed Forces, AFP, PNP. So for a civilian agency like the Office of the Vice President, what she needs is confidential funds to do this. Kaya she asked the confidential.
To assist the law enforcement group. Kasi
hindi ka na-resolve yung problem.
Hindi ka na-resolve yung problem. Ibig sabihin, you need to specially target the vulnerable doon sa sector na hawak niya. At since hawak na yung education, ang biktima ng by the way, there is a study in United Nations by the UN Research Kinamilor, that sa buong Southeast Asia, #1 ang Philippines sa kung saan ang mga kabataan natin ay biktima ng online sexual exploitation. I think also in the world, mataas rin yung natin. They're really flagging us na parang, "Hoy Philippines, ano gagawin niyo dito?" Yung mga online yung children pornography, mga Pilipino yung mga nagagamit, yung mga nagsho-show, yung mga naggagawa ng mga den na nagpe-perform ang mga bata, nagpe-perform ng mga sexual acts, pagkatapos ang mga mga pedophile abroad, ganyan. It's really really disturbing. And ang problem doon is that these kids, these kids are victimized by their own relatives.
That's correct.
So this kind of thing, you cannot just leave it to normal law enforcement. Kasi nga, syempre, ang normal law enforcement, ang tingin niyan, yung mga crimes, all are of general approach.
Correct.
Na parang, bakit namin aanuhin yan? Kasama yung magulang. Diba? But this kind of crimes na committed against the learners, ang mga nambibiktima sa kanila, kamag-anak, relatives, ganyan. So, because Inday Sara is the DepEd secretary, of course, they have to think of a way. How are you going to help those children complain and yung may paabot nila sa kinauukulan na sila ay biktima ng mga pang-aabuso.
Okay.
So, yan na, dyan na pumapasok na meron silang sistema among the teachers, the children would be able to, tell their teachers na, ma'am, kasi ganito, and then the teachers would also have proper instruction dahil nag-establish ng hotline si Inday about it, di ba? Yung mga abuses sa mga estudyante and things like that. So, it would be facilitated in such a way na hindi agad i-dismiss ng ordinaryong police or ng law enforcement yung mga problema nitong mga batang to. But of course, yung mga haters, they do not think about that. Hindi nila wala ka rin common sense. Alam mo yun, bakit si Inday ang kumikeme dyan, ganyan. So, it's really frustrating na ganun yung isip nung iba. Na, sobrang nakaka
Tapos, in addition to that input, Joey, ang Davao City kasi, we have a Kian Gabriel hotline. Okay? The Kian Gabriel hotline. Ginawa yan siya, di ba kasi naging issue yung si Kian de los Santos, mga abuse, ganyan. So si VP, because we have 911, para siyang, sa mga taga Davao dyan, correct me if I'm wrong, pero this is what I remember, na yung Kian Gabriel hotline is parang attached siya sa 911 ng Davao City, na kung saan, for example, kung in-abuse ka, pwede mo tawagan yan, and there will be investigators, there will be people who will help you out,
so
there will be
automatic
psychiatrists.
May mga social workers going to assist. Kasi iba ang approach, lalo na kapag ang biktima ng abuse ay bata.
So, yan yung ginawa ni VP. Now, because national scale na to, kailangan niyang i-leverage yung project na yan sa DepEd. Kaya, sa DepEd, nagkaroon ng Telesafe Learning Center. And in order, and aside from that, the DepEd also had Learners' Rights Protection Office. Doon nire-report, doon iniimbestigahan ang mga child abuse cases, doon halos lahat ganyan. So, in order to effectively implement that project, you need surveillance. And so, that's the reason why the confidential fund was asked. Now, if you would ask, that's in DepEd. Why did she ask in the office of the Vice President? Okay, this is how I see it because I was studying the projects and programs of the OVP in 2022 up until now in 2025. Ganito yung nakita ko. There was a floating information that VP Sara would put into the national stage yung Peace 911 initiative of Davao City. Yung Peace 911 initiative, that's the reason why naging insurgency-free ang Davao. Yung Paquibato District, paano niya na-convert lahat ng NPA doon na bumalik sa gobyerno, nabigyan niya ng pangkabuhayan. Yan sana yung i-implement. And again, to quote, to effectively and efficiently implement that project, you need proper surveillance para hindi masayang yung pera. That is why from August of 2022 to December of 2022, ang total amount na kinakailangan ni VP Sara to implement that, to successfully approach the program is 125 million. Kaya nag-ask ng 125 million lang. Now, balikan natin kasi yung main topic natin is about Bongbong Marcos. Bakit nagka-problema? Okay na sana yun binigyan ng chance si BBM in 2022 until December of 2022 sa leadership niya because nga nangangapa pa, bago pa lang, 'di ba? Bago 6 months pa lang ganyan. Pero we were shocked na by the end of December and early of January, the Marcos administration was already attacking VP Sara of her confidential fund that is supposed to be confidential, that is not meant to be discussed publicly. Doon namin nakikita as supporters na, trinatridor si VP Sara. It was the Office of the President who that released the money in December of 2022. So ngayon, nasya kami because after the meeting of Romualdez and the Makabayan Bloc, yun sila Franz Castro, sino pa yun, yung Kabataan Party, si Raul Manuel, sila Percy, si Danya, ano yun, ang apelyido niya, ganyan. Na-shock na lang kami na during the plenary, they are now attacking VP Sara. Even Stella Kimbo, the person who used to defend the budget of VP Sara, she turned her back already and now telling the Filipino people na she's very disappointed because the money was spent for 11 days lang. So doon namin nakikita that there is already something wrong with Bongbong Marcos administration because the confidential fund, the sensationalized issue used against VP Sara is supposed or is asked and utilized to supposedly topple down the enemies of the state. Number one, the NPA, the terrorists, the criminals. And to also protect the learners in the Department of Education. Yan yun. Now, nakikita namin, why are the pro-admin people now attacking VP Sara with the confidential fund? Because again, it's a trap. They knew exactly that VP Sara cannot publicly discuss the confidential fund because that would compromise national security. So they attack VP Sara on that matter. So doon namin nakita, okay, nabudol tayo. Mali yung binoto natin in 2022. Hindi natin in-expect, di ba? Ang ganda ng platform I started my live telling you all the platforms, all the, plans, the concrete plans of BBM. But sa nakikita namin, as time passes by, walang projects na ginagawa, kundi atake kay VP Sara. And at that time also, binubuo nila yung sa Maharlika Fund. And nagkaka-problem na because including yung ng mga military uniform personnel, yung pension nila, kinukuha nila pati ang sa GSIS. And alam nyo ba guys, sa DepEd, yung GSIS issue na yan, finifix ni VP Sara, nagkaroon na siya ng mga MOA with GSIS para matulungan yung mga teachers. And now, yung tao na nagtratrabaho ng maayos, siya yung inaatake ni Romualdez, ng Young Guns, ng House of Representatives, yung mga tauhan ni Romualdez dyan sa House of Representatives. So doon kami, sinasabi namin, ito na, nabudol na tayo. Pinapakita na ng Marcos administration ang totoong kulay nila. And nag-umpisa ang People's Initiative. Parang gumanyan na lahat. Oh my God, millions of money spent for the People's Initiative alone. But they are making a big deal out of the confidential fund that is only worth 125 million. And People's Initiative to change the Constitution. Di ba ganyan? And so, pumasok si Amy Marcos. It was Amy Marcos who blocked the People's Initiative of Romualdez. It was Amy Marcos who bravely faced Romualdez and who made it publicly that it was Romualdez that allocated funds for the People's Initiative, for the PI. Yan yung nakita ko. So doon ko sinasabi, oh my God, I'm doubting Amy Marcos now because to begin with, Amy Marcos is a Marcos. She's a sister of the president. So as you can see, my pattern, para bang good cop, bad cop tayo. So at that time, I doubted Amy Marcos. Ang dami kong doubts.
Everybody doubted. Kasi nga, syempre, you do not, we can't know for sure. Her brother is the president, so alam naman natin, syempre magkakapamilya yan. Hindi niyan, they are going to protect each other in in one way or another. So kahit pa sabihin natin na consistent yung ginagawa politically, consistent yung ginagawa ni Senator Amy Marcos during that time, hindi talaga maiwasan na mawala sa isip ng mga tao na sincere ba yan, totoo ba yan, ganyan. Talaga bang baka mamayaan. Alam mo yun ang hirap dun. To be fair, mahirap din yung kalagayan ni Senator Amy Marcos because being a Marcos, you are not going to be taken seriously even if you think of good political moves, even if you're going to deliver good measures via legislation. A lot of people would still think na palabas lang yan, ganyan. And that kind of doubt, that kind of skepticism is not present to other politicians. Diba? Hindi, yung level ng skepticism ng public sa ibang mga politician, like for example, kay Alan Peter Cayetano nga, nagsalita lang, na-appreciate agad eh.
Exactly.
Diba? Si Lito Lapid, bumoto lang na i-archive ang impeachment, na-appreciate na agad. I mean, it was really a very, very minute, action. And yet, the public can appreciate their it's very, yung kayang ma-appreciate ng mga tao, kasi hindi sila Marcos. Pero si Amy, dahil Marcos siya, kahit pailipat niya yung bundok from one place to another, ang isip ng mga tao is, hindi yan totoo, 'di ba? Ano, palabas lang yan. It's actually quite difficult to be fair to Senator Amy.
Oh.
That kind of challenge is not present to any politician but her.
Correct. So at that time nga, grabe na yung doubt. Grabe na yung doubt. So doon pumasok ang nabudol na argument or yung nabudol na sentiment. Tapos guys, sa nakikita natin, again, 2022, 2023, mas naging powerful ang Makabayan Bloc. Alam naman natin yung association ng Makabayan Bloc, kaya nga tinatawag, di ba, na CPP, NPA, NDF. I'm not saying na lahat sila NPA, ganyan. But what I'm saying is, they have been defending the New People's Army, di ba? The NPA, or the members of the NPA, are the ones trying to overthrow the government, to topple down the government. So sinasabi ko, why is the enemy of the state now being valued? Why are they now given the platform to really maneuver everything politically? And kung makikita nyo during the plenary, it is the Makabayan Bloc who kept attacking VP Sara over confidential fund. And ito yung time na kung saan nag-file ng kaso si Franz Castro kay Tatay Digong, because sinabi ni Tatay Digong, yung confidential fund gagamitin yan para sa iyo, Franz Castro ka, 'di ba? Parang patayin ka. So nangyari yan sa SMNI para sa masa na program ni Tatay Digong. So kung i-analyze mo lahat ng mga pangyayari at that time, yung mga pre-namis ni BBM walang natutupad, kundi ang pinapatupad during his administration is to attack Duterte and the allies and the supporters. And kung nakikita ninyo, in just a snap, boom, SMNI got shut down. And valid pa yung contract, active pa yung contract, yung franchise, valid pa, pero nahanapan nila ng way. And then na-contempt na, may mga supporters na like si Doc Lorraine Badoy, si Ka Eric, na sila, tawag siya, na-contempt na. So parang the abuse is starting to pile up, parang ganyan. And kinulong si Kibuloy, Pastor Kibuloy, hinaras ang mga tao sa KOJC. Doon ako nagsabi na this is not the government I deserve.
What they did to KOJC is a prelude of all the excesses that they are going to do to the Filipino people and to the country. Kasi nga di ba weird kasi yung KOJC for a lot of people kasi it's a religious group, tapos meron silang mga income generating kinembot na yung mga members nila, parang nagko-contribute in order to bring money to the flock, ganyan. Tapos kasi syempre community siya yun naman kasi yung purpose ng religion. And if you have these people doing things willingly for the flock, hindi mo kasi makokontra yan kung anong trip nila di ba? Sabi ko, ang religion kasi, it is the most basic right. The most basic, the right to believe. The right to be. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kahit sinong tao, kung kunwari, kung trip niyang gawing Diyos yung bato.
Exactly, okay lang.
Okay lang, we cannot,
we
cannot question them. We cannot question them. But anyway, for KOJC, a lot of people felt na parang ang weird naman nila kasi sinabi ni Kibuloy, stop the
yung
parang hindi nila masakyan yung trip ng mga taga KOJC. But at that point, my stand was, hindi mo kailangan maging KOJC before mo i-respect yung rights ng mga tao na nandun. Kung ang problema nila si Pastor Kibuloy, problemahin nila si Pastor Kibuloy. But I think it was above and beyond what is required to arrest Pastor Kibuloy sa ginawa ng PNP dahil magpapadala ka talaga ng libo-libong mga pulis doon, libo-libong mga
tama yung sinabi mo kanina na it's really a prelude kung paano nila i-maneuver yung future ng Philippine politics. Kasi nga kung nakikita ninyo, so ayun na, grabe na yung abuses. So sabi ko, this is not the promise of BBM. He promised us a good life isa pa yung bigas. Although sinasabi natin may ways if you are doing things rationally, there are ways to really achieve the 20 kilo ng bigas. Although some people would say na it's really impossible. But again, there are ways. Again, pwede natin i-attempt yung mga ways na yun if it works or not. Parang ganyan. But then, hindi. Instead na mag 20 kilos yung bigas, ang nangyayari is, paano ba? Umabot ng 60. So sabi ko, iba yun. Iba yung promise niya sa campaign. Iba yung nangyayari sa administration. Kaya nabudol. So sa mga kakampings dyan, yes, accepted and admitted namin na nabudol
Yeah,
kami.
correct.
And that is why we are correcting our mistake in 2022.
Kasi unlike you, we have integrity.
Yeah.
We own up to our mistake. Nagkamali kami sa pagpili kay Bongbong Marcos. So therefore, we are holding him accountable for all the promises that he
failed to deliver.
Correct. Ngayon, ganun yung accountability dyan. Kayo, di ba, kayo nga nakakatawa dahil sila, ano sila tawag dito, sinisingil nila si
VP Sara.
si PRRD
Oh, yes,
sa mga
correct.
promises ni PRRD. Hindi naman nila binoto.
Exactly. So,
Diba?
yan yung sasabihin ko sana. Because yung argument ng mga kakamping, sinasabi nila, kayo lang dyan, hindi kami makialam, hindi namin binoto yan, kayo ang bumoto niyan. Pero kung balikan mo from 2016 to 2022, they want to oust Duterte and they want to hold Duterte accountable for the wrongdoings that he hasn't done during his term as president. So if we will follow their logic, if we will follow their argument, then meaning to say, binoto nila si BBM. So they are betraying Leni Robredo, si BBM, si Tatay Digong. So they are betraying Leni Robredo and Mar Rojas at that. It's Mar Rojas who ran under the yellow,
yes,
right?
Sila
So ganyan. Tapos apply natin. Huwag na tayong lumayo sa 2016. Apply natin ngayon. 'Di ba? Kung hindi nila binoto si VP Sara, bakit nagsisik sila ng accountability and transparency kay VP Sara?
Correct.
Kasi ang
you should
argument,
not care. Kasi hindi nyo binoto
because hindi nyo binoto. Ang sinasabi nyo kasi, ayaw ninyong makialam sa kay Bongbong despite the corruption, despite the billions of money allegedly pocketed, yung sa unprogrammed funds, ayaw ninyong makialam because nga hindi nyo binoto. So bakit kayo nakikialam kay VP Sara? So meaning, you betrayed Leni Robredo. So ang reason bakit natalo si Leni Robredo and si Kiko Pangilinan in 2022 because you didn't vote for them. You voted for VP Sara. So now you are seeking accountability and transparency to VP Sara because again, following your logic, you voted for her. O di ba? So ganyan kabobo yung mga kakampings. Hindi na naintindihan na nagbubumirang yung yung nagba-backfire yung mga arguments nila. Now another thing is, ang sinasabi nila, bakit daw ang INC nag-hold ng rally against Bongbong Marcos na when in fact it was the INC that endorsed the Unity BBM Sara in 2022. Exactly the point. Because the INC voted for that person, the INC has the very right to call out that person or singilin niyang tao sa mga promises that he failed to deliver. Naintindihan ninyo? So kung ang argument ninyo is hindi nyo binoto kaya ayaw ninyo makialam, so wag nyo pakialaman lahat ng mga tao na hindi nyo binoto including VP Sara. But the problem is you guys are so loud against VP Sara. The 125 million confidential fund issue, you made it appear as if it's a national issue, but you guys are so silent with the 100 billion unprogrammed funds allegedly pocketed by Bongbong Marcos and Martin Romualdez. And until now, because you cannot call them out, because your political figures like Risa Hontiveros, Kiko Pangilinan, and the rest of the NPA enablers and the left-leaning groups that you guys are supporting are now leaking Bongbong Marcos because that's the only way for you to return to power. Why? Because nakikita ninyo, you are taking advantage of Bongbong Marcos' weakness now. But unfortunately, ang hindi nyo na-gets, even if you are successful in overthrowing the presidency of Bongbong Marcos, under the law, under the Constitution, it would be VP Sara who will succeed such position. Diba? Line of succession. If the president is incapacitated, it would be the vice president who will take over. And wala kayong option. Because even if you are successful nga in ousting BBM, it would be VP Sara who can benefit. So ang ginagawa ninyo ngayon, wala kayong pakialam sa corruption issue ni BBM, wala kayong pakialam whether or not ang country natin would drown to poverty, would drown to hunger and everything. Because again, si VP Sara ang magbe-benefit. Admit that. Hindi nyo pa ina-admit eh. May nakikita pa kayo may mga comments na nagsasabing, okay lang naman si BBM kahit mangura pa siya as long as hindi maging presidente si VP Sara. Imagine the level of kabubuhan that you guys have. Di ba? Ganyan pa. And also, ito, i-clarify lang natin, time frame analysis. In 2022, election time, numbers game, di ba? Ang dapat ninyong gagawin is, ibenta ninyo ng maayos yung presidential candidate ninyo and vice presidential candidate ninyo. I-present nyo ng maayos in order for you to rally more people to vote for those candidates. The problem is, you guys are so mayabang. You think that if someone doesn't share the same belief with you, or if that someone peddles a different narrative, or if that someone does not subscribe to your narrative, automatically you label that someone bobo. Then how can that bobo vote for your candidate when in fact sinusukan nyo na nga siya, hindi pa nag-e-elections? How much more kung after elections, di ba? So kung ako sa inyo mga kakamping, galingan ninyo yung campaign strategy ninyo. If you want to really educate the voters properly, then lay down facts, tell them to debate with you intellectually. Hindi yung puro bobo, let me educate you, tanga ka, didi shit, ganyan. That won't help you win elections. Now, if you really want Leni Robredo or Risa Hontiveros or sino pa yung mga panlaban nyo in 2028, ngayon sana, you should shy away from your hypocrisy. Kasi ang nangyari, you guys are very hypocrite to the point na yung mga tao na ayaw sa inyo, ayaw na talaga sa inyo. So kahit anong gagawin nyo pa dyan, kahit ano pang split mental gymnastics ang gagawin nyo dyan, hindi na naniniwala ang taong bayan sa inyo because nga mga hypocrite kayo. And your principles are negotiable. Nakadepende kung sino yung nakaupo and how much money your political figures are getting from them. Because if you are really pro-good governance, then regardless of the family name, regardless of the position, regardless of who can benefit from that, dapat i-call out nyo lahat. Ang problema sa inyo ngayon, you made so much noise about the 125 million confidential fund, but your political figures, including you guys, are so silent with 100 billion budget insertions allegedly perpetrated by BBM and maneuvered by Zaldico and Martin Romualdez. At ito pa, sorry, baka mawala yung train of thought ko. Ito pa, ang sinasabi ninyo, you are discrediting the credibility of Zaldico. But hindi niyo tiningnan ang Senate investigation earlier na kung saan tama ang pinagsasabi ni Zaldico, may slight difference in terms of the figures lang, pero totoo pala talaga na may kumukuha ng pera ng DPWH, yung dalawang undersecretary, Yusek Bersamin and Yusek Olivar. So meaning to say, ang sinasabi ni Zaldico ay tama na may maneuver talaga sa budget para makuha nila yung 100 million that they have inserted. Billion para that they have inserted. Pero you are still discrediting Zaldico. Ang sinasabi ninyo, wala ganito kasi wala na siyang option. Dapat ang tingnan ninyo if gaano ka factual yung information na sinasabi niya online because nga he is part of the actors.
He is the chairman of Committee of Appropriation. He knows. He is the most competent to talk about it because he is the chairman of the Committee of Appropriation. By the way, the 100 billion inserted, sabi ni Zaldico, the 100 billion was inserted under the instruction of Bongbong Marcos. We are just talking about the insertion of Bongbong Marcos here. Okay? Yun yung claim ni Zaldico. And we are just talking about 2025, fiscal year 2025. Wala pa yung 2023. Wala pa yung 2024. Si Zaldico ang chair ng Committee on Appropriation for those years din.